difference in just 1 percentage point increase. And the interest you pay over the life of a 30-year amortized loan, it's more than $100,000. And that's for like a $300,000 home. If your average price is $600,000, oh my goodness, you're going to pay over $200,000 more over the life of a loan by waiting. Put those two numbers together, $200,000 and $50,000 on the price. I mean, $250,000 is what it's worth. And now, you sure you want to get the kids out of school, or you want to pay $250,000 more? Want to talk about some scripts, talking points, things like that for home buyers right now, especially in like a volatile, shifting market. The need is to create urgency. And you're seeing, with interest rates moving around, uncertainty about where home prices are going to end up. The natural knee-jerk response from humans in uncertainty is to pull back and just say, I'm going to do nothing. I'm going to see how this, so you're seeing a lot of people just say, I'm going to wait and see. I'm going to wait till, next season or after the holidays, or I'm just going to wait, see how this shakes out. Maybe that's what I'm waiting for. I'm going to wait till the kids graduate. There's always waiting for something, right? And when there's uncertainty in the market, you get a lot of it. So it's real important for us to establish some ways to increase that urgency in people. And this is where a lot of people have a hard time, guys. A lot of people have a hard time with applying pressure because they start to feel like a salesman, and they don't want to push too hard because they feel like it's going to look like, or they themselves feel like they're just trying to put their clients' interests aside for their own best interests to get commission now, to generate a sale now. So it's very important that you understand that's not what we're trying to do here. If someone is looking to buy real estate, I firmly believe, for lots of reasons, economically and financially, that buying now is smarter than waiting. And we'll cover some of those reasons, but it's really important, if you've probably heard me and seen me many a times talk about all those reasons, but we'll circle back to that in a minute. But the point of the matter is, right now I just want to address that. You have to believe that them buying real estate sooner rather than later is a good thing. And they also got to believe putting their life on hold is a bad thing too, especially for opportunities that may never come around again, right? And so when they do that, and I'll give you one example, right? I'll give you one example. I can only resist not showing enough times, but here is, the line, and I show this all the time, the median home prices in America, right? And, you can see it just always goes up. Even the big Great Recession, just a tiny little dip in home prices, has been doing nothing but going up year over year ever since. So waiting to buy, trying to wait, these happen about every 100 years. We had it for the Great Depression, waiting. And you can see there's lots of little dips in here. Look at all these little dips all throughout. And that's what happens with seasonality, right? Usually each little dip is, home prices are a little higher in the summer. And then they, a lot of the luxury houses and the higher priced homes come off the market. And then lower priced homes sell in the fall and the winter. So prices drop every fall and every winter. And then they start to go back up because more of the higher priced homes come on the market. And a lot of people don't realize that. So they look at that month to month. And so I want to make sure I show you that again, just so you can believe it here. This is see this little ripple, this annual ripple that occurs? Even in 2021 and 2020, some of the hottest years in real estate home prices, we still see them fall back. That's the hottest years. You go into more flat years like 2019, 2018, 2017. I have to have a big graph, but they're even more pronounced fallbacks in the fall. So the fact that, you move into fall and winter and you start hearing about, prices are dropping from, August to October and September to August and things like that. And especially when it gets in the winter, here we go, Great Recession. Understand it happens every year. They just don't talk about it because it's so subtle and so slight. It's not that big of a deal. So it's important we kind of explain that to buyers, should I wait? Should I wait until after the holidays or after my kids graduate? Then I'm going to get a better deal. Should I wait? They got to see that that's not the best advice. And you as an agent, as a professional, you got to first get behind the idea that buying sooner is better. I don't want you to be pressuring. I want you to be advising and giving good advice, not getting caught up on the clickbait that's out there online and telling people, no, you should wait. Let's size this up. I keep hearing prices are dropping. Real important, okay? Nowhere on that chart of home prices are we talking about like, boy, you should wait. I mean, yeah, there's little ups and peaks and valleys all the way through, and those happen for lots of little things. I mean, even in 2020, we had like enormous home price appreciation in 2020 during COVID. But when COVID first happened, there was like that first 90 days where prices really dropped because no one was allowed to leave their house, in most parts of the country. So the average home price just crashed for like 3 months. Happens. And why is that? Well, we know luxury houses, typically they only sell when it's convenient. You know what I mean? They don't need to sell ever. So when they stop selling, it's usually the winter or the fall or in those weird COVID times, or, when, Greece's economy crashes or China's economy, little things like that spook the luxury market, and then a bunch of lower prices keep selling. So the average home price comes down, and that's how it works. So real important we understand that and get behind that first, because you've got to buy it. Because if you're going to succeed, if you don't apply pressure and motivate people and you're just always doing what they say, you're letting the drunk guy drive the bus and their kids are on the bus. You realize that? Can you imagine going to a doctor and you've got lung cancer because you're a cigarette smoker? And he's like, I don't know if I'm going to tell him about the lung cancer. He wants to keep smoking. Like, you got to be able to deliver news that's contrary to their current interests for the benefit of their long-term interests. That's what a professional does. They have tough conversations. And that's what they do. So you got to have them. So don't think you're being too much of a salesman. You're being a professional. You're having the tough combos. I don't think being a salesman is a bad word anyway. I think a lot of people think it is. A good salesman is very professional. A good salesman is informative and has the tough combos. So that's the idea there. So creating urgency, real important, right? Okay, so the reasons they want to wait, we got to kind of talk about it, right? And we got to show that to people and explain to them what waiting does. So showing them our graph and saying, hey, here's the history of home prices. You sure you want to roll the dice on this? That's pretty important, So I think kind of explaining that and showing that great graph is a great objection handler. And oftentimes if you're on the phone with someone or you're just talking with someone and they're saying, no, we're going to wait, and just say, hey, could we at least meet? And that's where it's really important. I get that a lot of people say that, but do you have like 5 quick minutes for me so I can show you something about that? And then a quick Zoom call might be the way to go, whether that's on your phone or on your desktop, or if you can set an in-person, better yet, because then you can show them some of this stuff. And even then they're knee-jerk. People instinctively push away from doing taking any activity, right? That's the instinct, right? So that their first knee-jerk is going to be, no, I still want to wait anyway. I want to wait because of this. Plant the seed, show them the information, then let them think about it. Right? That's like that's the Nordstroms mentality, right? You walk into Nordstroms, you're there to buy something, obviously, unless you're my mother who just wants to kill time and walk around. You walk into Nordstroms, first thing they do is, welcome to Nordstroms. Can I help you with anything? And your response is always, no, I'm just looking. You're a liar. You're not there just looking unless you're my mother. That's the knee jerk. That's the push off. That's what you're doing. You're pushing off. So when they do that, that's okay. You stay with them like Nordstrom's does. Because pretty soon they realize they're not just looking, but they probably never even thought it. And they end up getting close in that, store somewhere to needing what they want. And someone might help them find a better size or check them out when they want to buy. Nordstrom doesn't give up on them when they say, no, I'm just looking, and kick them out of the store. Neither should you. So you plant the seed. They might think about it and realize waiting's not the best deal. If we show them that home price appreciation has been going up, 10, 15, 20% a year, they might be paying 10% more for their house next year. Make sense? So real important to close to that appointment so we can plant the seed and not get pushed off. So that's the first thing. When people push you off, don't try to argue on the spot. Try to get, unless you're in an appointment or you're having coffee or something. Otherwise, we want to get to a point where we can have that, whether it's a desktop Zoom call or sitting and waiting in front of them, where we can actually explain to them, here's the situation. Financially, it's actually not the best move to wait. Now, if you want to wait for other reasons, that's on you. But my job is to actually advise you financially. And I can tell you financially, it's a bad move to wait based on all expert opinions, based on all historical data. It's a bad move to wait. However, if you're doing it for personal reasons, okay, it's up to you to kind of weigh whether those personal reasons are worth the financial cost of waiting. And the financial cost can be pretty big. I mean, if we get 10% home price appreciation year over year, like we've at least done the last few years, I mean, on a $500,000 house, that means you're going to pay $50,000 more for it by waiting. If your interest rate goes up a full percent, which is, it seems like the Federal Reserve chairman's saying that we're going to do it another 3/4 every 2 months, difference in just 1 percentage point increase. And the interest you pay over the life of a 30-year amortized loan, it's more than $100,000. And that's for like a $300,000 home. If your average price is $600,000, oh my goodness, you're going to pay over $200,000 more over the life of a loan by waiting. Put those two numbers together, $200,000 and $50,000 on the price. I mean, $250,000 is what it's worth. And now, you sure you want to get the kids out of school, or you want to pay $250,000 more? You make the call. My job is to advise you financially. See, that's what I'm always going to do when I'm talking about any type of script. I'm always going to put it to them where they're going to weigh the benefit. And I'm always going to advise financially. And then they're going to talk about the inconvenience. People do that all the time. I can't afford to join a gym. I can't afford to do that. Well, I mean, they're depressed, they're overweight, they're unhealthy, they might die, but they can't afford to go to a gym. So I'll show them the financial and I'll have them weigh what's more important to you. You see people do that all the time. They make terrible decisions and they come up with excuses that most non-professional agents won't push against because they're afraid to apply pressure. They're afraid to have the tough conversation. They're afraid. I mean, it's just amazing. You can always come up with a reason not to act, because acting's uncomfortable. Acting is like going to meet with a lender, having your credit run, moving, emptying that bank account they love to see grow deeper and deeper. They love to see that big bank account. Trying to empty that bank account to put a down payment out there is scary. It's no fun. So all of that action is actually painful action short term to get what they want long term, which is a home ownership or a better house or whatever. So anytime anybody wants to do anything big that's life-changing, there's always some tough initial uncomfortable steps that we have to take. A good doctor, a good attorney, a good accountant, a good agent, a good professional is going to use facts to motivate people to walk across those hot coals to get to the benefit on the other side. So we got to be willing to do those, to take those uncomfortable steps with them. Really important. Really important. Crucial. Now, I mean, I think it's a tremendous, especially those for the home sellers out there to kind of understand it and to get it and to understand the urgency. And then interest rates are another big one for a home seller because a home buyer, they're trying to lock in. A home seller, looking to turn around and buy. Same deal. So interest rates kind of cut both ways if you're looking to still buy a house. I mean, so with that being said, trying to advise them of this and push them forward through the urgency around interest rates is just about everything right now. So we talk about home prices, we talk about interest rates. I think a big one right now too is, especially with home buyers, I like to show people, I'm going to show you guys this. This is a real big one out here too, is to kind of let home buyers know, hey, they want to see that money build up in their bank account, and they don't want to take action. But this is what inflation does to the value of money. I mean, we've had no inflation. I mean, you could just draw this line for like 20 years too, but no inflation. And now you're seeing, inflation drop at record levels, right? We're down there, 8-ish percent, 8-9% CPI, which means the prices of things are going up on average about 8 to 9%, which means what your dollar can buy you is going down, which means money sitting in the bank, it's very slowly taking baby steps towards the peso, right? It just doesn't buy you as much anymore. So it's not going up that much. You're getting like 1% interest on it in the bank or whatever. And even if you're in a high yield account getting 3% or a money market getting 3%, it's still going down in value as costs go up around you. That's what's inflation. That's why people don't like it. Yet home values over the last few years are going up, and they always go up at a look at this substantial rate. Right now, if you invested in real estate, you're looking at like a 21+% increase on the value of your money, as opposed to how much you're losing per year by having it sit in the bank. And I know it's painful to see it leave the bank, but that's our job. We got to advise people. I mean, there isn't any financial advisor on the world who tells you to let money sit in the bank. They say get it invested. Where do you invest? Mutual funds and stocks or real estate? Those are the two safe. And to me, it's a no-brainer which one's safer. I know we're biased being in real estate now, but it's an absolute no-brainer, right? So sitting and paying rent, I mean, that's just crazy. So we don't do that. But if you're like saying, hey, I don't want to take action because you don't want to empty that bank account, we're going to stay put, or we don't want to pay a higher down payment or something like that, man, we got to show them they got to be willing to empty that bank account. That's a big, big deal, right? Then if they say, hey, there's a lot of people out there that are like, hey, I really think home prices are going to come down. Like, I think they're going to crash. I think there's a huge correction. I keep reading all the clickbait out there. And, that's when I'm going to show them another one you see me talk about a lot too. And that's this chart about supply and demand. Supply and demand's always going to control. And you see it right now. If there's not a lot of homes for sale, home prices aren't going to come down that much. You know what I'm saying? Because people got to buy houses. They still get divorced. They still have to buy their first home as opposed to rent. They still get job transfers. They still need an extra bedroom because they're having another baby. They still want to get in better school districts. They still want to move closer to family. And I can go on and on for like an entire day of reasons people are going to keep buying and selling houses. And I can take you back to the 1980s when we had interest rates up, north of 15%, or home sales were through the roof because of those reasons. And that's, people just keep buying real estate. It's a commodity. It's a necessity. It's shelter. We got to have it. And there's not easy to find. It's even harder to find rentals. So each year, going all the way back to the 30s, during the Great Depression was the one time we didn't build a lot of houses and we had made a lot of babies. Our population grew. But every decade since there, the 40s, the 50s, the 60s, you can see home construction and people born population increases was about the same every single decade. Until the Great Recession happened, 2007, 8, 9, and then all of a sudden all the builders either went bankrupt or got spooked and didn't build as much. And you can see our population grew at a fast rate like normal, but we barely built any houses. And so far this year, because of cost of labor, the same people being spooked, people nervous about the industry, the cost of materials to buy a house, you can see we're falling even further behind on supply. So even though we're having all these babies and our population's growing, we don't have enough houses for them. And if there's not enough houses, if you still can't find homes for your buyer to buy when that house does come up that your buyer wants to buy, they're going to aggressively try to get it, not in a way that'll typically make home prices come crashing down. So when supply is low, prices go up, period. Maybe not up as fast as 2021. Sure, maybe not, but still going up. That's why year over year we keep seeing it. And let's say prices come back at some point in the future, 1%, 2%, even 5%. I think that's pretty crazy to allow prices to continue to go up for I don't know how long, only to wait for the one time they come back a little bit. That's my other Nordstroms analogy. Don't act like you got a good deal at Nordstroms because you bought it 10% off. Nordstroms is expensive. Marked up only to be discounted down, just so you can trick your own brain and justify buying something. Same deal. Oh boy, I got it in a little dip. It's a good time to buy. Yeah, but you waited 2 years and prices are up 30% before you got a 2%. If it comes, that's typically what you're looking at. So advising of this, explaining this to them, making them knowledgeable is the key right now. Because if your buyers don't have urgency, it's time to get a buyer's consultation appointment with them. Even if you've already had one, let's do a new one. Because we got to make our buyers very aggressive in markets where interest rates are in play, where prices are in play, where the market's in flux. There's lots of conflicting news out there. I mean, it's all over the map. You'll watch one thing and say prices are up year over year, 10%. Next thing you open up, prices are crashing. You open up one thing, Fannie Mae expects 8% price appreciation next year. Next one, the price is going to crash next year. People get confused, and that's what we're here for. Yeah, it may frustrate you, but understand that's what gives us value. So our job is to sit and have those conversations. If you're letting them make up the decision based on, they're not on this training. They're not hearing this. They're not devoting time towards their craft like you are right now. So it's your job to at least get them to sit down like the doctor does, man. When I go into the doctor, I don't want him to give me a physical every time. So he kind of meets me halfway. He said, I'm going to check your ear, your throat, your nose, your heartbeat, and move on. But he knows it'd be better if we did a physical every time. But he makes me do all that stuff just while I'm waiting because he knows he can get by with it. Same deal here. We don't need to give them a physical, but before we start talking about buying and them waiting, let's make sure they're making the right decision.